space in the sheriff's office, the second and third floor, they're even in worse shape than we are. And I know that when OES moved out and moved up to the new building, hopefully we can gain a little bit. We actually gained Jack Spillman's office downstairs. I believe that the IT department is probably going to end up with most of the conference room down there. They're extremely crunched for space, but I will fight to try to keep everything that we have and try to get more. It's highly possible maybe we can get part of that conference room, because I know that's going to be split up.
That would be a good thing
and
if we could.
There is some talk in the building department meeting just a couple of weeks ago about just what's going to happen to that main conference room down there. We've got those cabinets that a lot of the radios and stuff will be leaving, going to the new building. So possibly with some construction, we may be able to do some work down there. And I know that the break room will probably be utilized by everyone in the building, because I know the second floor is in really bad shape too.
Thanks for the question, Mike. Again, having not been there for a few years, I haven't even walked through the place, so I don't know what current building constraints you have. I would encourage Mike to fight for that room, that conference room area, because I think it's going to be vacated, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people vying for it. I'd encourage you to try and get as much of that as you can, Mike, obviously, and I'm sure you will. So to answer your question, yes, I think it's important that there be an area, not specifically for detention, but for the entire department to do physical training in-house. Anytime you can have a spot in-house, it's better, people are more comfortable, people are safer, and it's cheaper. So certainly, by all means.
Well, in the constraints of time, I can't disagree with either of these two. Obviously the conference room makes the most sense, and if we could at least get a portion of that, again, as a generalized training area. Our weight room is, well, as we just had a meeting, it's going to get fuller than it already is. So, we need to be looking at some options, and that seems to me to be an immediate option. Let's see if we can seize it.
Thank you. During the past 3 years on the sworn side, we have seen a significant increase in the number of formal reprimands and grievances protesting it. Do you believe a peer review system would help to alleviate this issue? Should any reprimand which affects an employee's paycheck be considered major?
Well, I'll kind of answer this one in reverse. As far as if it affects your paycheck, should it be major? Yes, it should. I think the problem here, again, is morale. When the morale is low, these problems seem to arise. It's systematic in every type of workforce. If we can get the morale up, we can get the communication up, which has to happen, I think these things will go down. As far as having a peer review, I don't know that that's really necessary. I think we should probably try and work on these other two issues first. I know we had good morale at one time, and we had very little grievances, very little problems, and hence no need for a peer review system.
Well, anything that does affect your paycheck is major. It clearly states that in the contract, and it also states that in the policy. And I don't think there's any question about that it's major. Regarding the peer review and the grievances, right now we have to work with the existing contract that we have, and based also with the policy. I would be open to a peer review. I think that's something that we could probably negotiate through the labor management meeting, if not at or before contract time or at contract time. But currently, I'm not going to violate the policy or violate the contract by adding steps to the grievance process or change things. But I started the labor management meeting. It was talked about with the union in the negotiations. I support it. I'll meet with you anytime, and let's make some changes if we need to make them. But I'm not going to violate the contract or violate the policies until we do get it changed.
Of course, any discipline that affects your paycheck is major discipline. If you affected my paycheck, I feel it was pretty major. There's an old adage that don't ever mess with an employee's paycheck or schedule and they'll be happy employees. And to a degree, that's always true. However, that being said, would a peer review be useful in reducing the number of written reprimands and grievances? I've been around organizations where peer reviews have been in place, and they either work well or they don't work well. One of the traps you can have with a peer review is, I think in any disciplinary procedure, the biggest thing you need to do is try and take the personalities out of it, the friendships out of it, you know, he's a really great guy, so we'll kind of give him a break this time. And it's easy for peer reviews to do that, to take the popular people and deal with them differently than, you know, Bruce Parrish is just really short and we don't like him, so we're going to deal with him differently. Sorry, just had to get one thing in. So I think that's a trap that you can have with peer review, is I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that, but I think they would truly have to be just advisory in nature and not have any sort of actual final say on what would or would not happen. Again, happy employees that trust their supervisors to deal with them appropriately and consistently do tend to eliminate 99% of these minor things that, you know, you should know that, hey, if this is an issue that's going to get me talked to, I'll get talked to, and this is the kind of issue that's going to give me a reprimand, that ought to be clear, and you ought to know that it's
4 minutes?
consistent.
Oh, it's a 60-minute tape. Okay. So we didn't need to take it.
Over the years, there's been a lot of rumors about the jail. We're going to build a new one, and we're going to add on to it. So I'm asking the three of you if you have any plans for the jail, and what would those changes be?
Sure.
Excuse me one second, I want to add to that. And staffing.
Yeah, of course, and that goes hand in hand. You know,
I want to clarify it though, Chuck.
Yeah, and I understand. Let me address that, and I'll try and be as brief as I can. I'll tell you what, right now, the public, as it currently sits, the public would not vote for a new jail. They're tough economic times, and you know what? They haven't heard anything about it for the last 4 years. You know why I say that? Because I haven't heard anything about it, and I've been a member of the general public. They aren't getting hammered with the fact that we have an issue, it's overcrowded, things are just kind of under the radar and running along fine, and that makes the general public pretty happy. So unless it's in their forefront, unless it's constantly in the media, unless these issues are constantly brought up, you aren't going to get a bond issue passed. You aren't going to get additional mills for a jail. So as it stands right now, no. I think that if indeed those are currently the issues, and I think they probably are, then they need to get out there in front of the public. So, that being said, we're stuck right now with what we've got. I think there are some programs, and certainly I would want to work with the jail staff and the jail administrators and try and get some input from you guys. I haven't been there in 4 years, but I think we need to try and shift. Kathy, you still back there? Are they all felons right now?
Nope.
They aren't.
Our current population, Chuck, is 71.
Okay.
We never saw that in the last 10 years.
Oh, that's very true. We did
And our
not.
population went from 98% felons down to approximately right now at 60.
Okay, great. So that's actually good news. So perhaps it would be important to try and shift some of the misdemeanors into other programs out there and look at some innovative ways, and I'm certain that you guys have tried to do that, to make more space.
I will note on one thing. Our population might be down, Kathy, but isn't our process up?
Correct, it is. The
Thank
number of people we process.
Okay, sure,
in and out.
certainly staffing, and I know my time's running out. I'll try and be really quick on this, on answering the staffing issue. I was the undersheriff, and was in the sheriff's office when we moved into the new jail, and a few of you in this room were present during that time as well. They built a great facility, and they moved into it, but really not much forethought had been put into how to staff it. So it was a disaster.